Thank you, everyone. Graveyard shift. This will be interesting. It's always an honor to be invited by Kathy to anywhere. And like most of us, if Kathy says for you to do something, you kind of just do it. But I am so excited and so honored to be with a very distinguished panel. But I'm also very mindful that you all came from a very enlightening, very enriching lunch. That also means you might get a bit sleepy. So it is my job to help make my panelists shine, but also to keep you awake. And so we're going to try and do that in 45 minutes or so. Right, so purpose. So thrilled to be talking about purpose in terms of your wellness. And for those of you Twitterati, it is #wellnesswhy, or your purpose why. And I think today we've got an amazing panel that will help bring it to action and help get it activated. Jean, please. And so this is really a casual conversation on knowing your purpose, but also hearing from the best of the best in terms of if purpose is your center line, how do you keep it activated and how do you stay the course? And so this is the chat that we're going to have, and I really hope I could get some questions later on. And of course, we're going to be here over the next couple of days anyway. You've got amazing bio Bibles, or however I should call them. So I am not going to read out bios because that would be a waste of time. I just want to hear from everyone. We've got Davide, Comfort Zone. We've got Binod, and I have a special place in my heart for Nepalese, and I think he has a special place in his heart for the Filipinos because the farm is a brainchild and is a superb project that has brought wellness to the forefront of tourism, but also just personal care, and love for thyself. So we're happy to have Binod. Melissa, who works with Pivotal Ventures. Most of you will know Pivotal Ventures as the sort of investing arm of Melinda Gates. But as I promised Melissa, this is about Melissa, not Melinda. And we want to hear her purpose journey as well. And then over to the far side, someone has used time shift already and is trying to stay away from the light. Dr. M, I said you're a very good student. You're a dream student. You get told something and boom, he's on it. But Dr. M will talk to us about Smart Health City. And again, another case of a CEO mandate with a very clear purpose. But I do wonder, how do you keep it straight out into every single innovation that you have at an age where everything is tech, fast, and everything has to be on it all the time. And sometimes we don't really take the time off to reflect on purpose. And of course, my sage in Hong Kong, somebody said, do you know Jean Sung? And I said, she's the Jane Goodall of Asia. But Jean is a force for good, bigger force for good than I can ever dream of. And we're so honored for all the philanthropy work that she has done. And she'll also tell us a little bit about impact and purpose. Right, I told you I will keep you awake, but before I keep you awake, I will keep my panelists awake. So, I'm going to time this because we are on the clock. Just to kick it off, we keep talking about purpose. Purpose is your why, it's your ikigai. But I do want to know what my panelists' purpose statement, or what for them purpose really means. And so I'm going to give you a minute. And as Kathy says, there's an eject button after the 1 minute that would just swallow you up. Exactly. But I'll give you 1 minute to just share either what does purpose mean to you, or what is your purpose statement if you have one. And I'm not going to do this methodically. I'm just going to go with Mr. Cool, Dr. M. You're on my radar. So time starts now, and tell us what purpose means to you.
Thank you. So I get involved in things which bring disruption in the society and take the society to the next level. I was involved in telecom revolution of the mobility, mobile phones and all that. And I think I was looking for the next revolution, and I see that in wellness. I think this will be the biggest disruption which the humanity will see in the coming years.
24 seconds, you guys. The bar is set high. So his purpose has something to do with the wellness revolution and activating that, but making sure that we stay the course on that. Andiamo, David. What is purpose to you?
For us, is to be the best beauty company for the world through ethics, performance, and sustainability. So before we wanted to be the best in the world, but then since 2016, when we turned B Corp, we shifted on a stakeholder-driven approach. So now it's for the world.
24 seconds. I love this. I'm going to do this in every single panel I run. I think timing is always great. But to be the best, how many of us know B Corp? And if not, we'll unpack that concept a bit later on. All right. So I think David invented purpose in the beauty sector, in the wellness sector, before it was even called that. You're probably one of the pioneers. But to go from personal, individual, to community, to the world is a journey we'd want to hear about. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Jean, I'm going to go on the far end.
Does that mean that I get the extra 60 seconds?
Absolutely. She really does work for JP Morgan. There we go.
I think what gets me up in the morning is a sense of purpose. I quote Thomas Carlyle. He said, "A life without purpose is like a ship without a rudder, and we float, destination unknown." I feel I have the greatest opportunity, blessings, and work within the bank's Philanthropy Center advising our clients. Our clients are folks who wants to give back, and they give back with purpose and intent. And I think to have that opportunity to join folks such as yourself, wellness isn't just about our physical being. It's about our mind, our spirit, our physical self, and what we do to each other. And by just being here today, I feel it's such a privilege, because obviously you all have purpose. So let's work on our purpose together. It's a common denominator. Thank you.
56. You still have 4 seconds. Thank you for that. I think when I first heard that I was going to moderate this panel and then I saw Jean's name, I thought, wow, this is the woman who says, why do giving if it isn't purposeful? And sometimes, you know, traditional CSR and traditional check writing, you do it because it's the right thing to do. You give it because you can. But if it's not purposeful, what does that make you? You are an ATM machine, you're a resourcer, but I think I'd love to hear more for Jean to share with us. How do you really make each and every check you sign, no matter how big or small, really purposeful? Melissa, let's go to you. Hang on. Okay, go.
Okay. Purpose to me is the act of living and carrying out my own core set of values. As Pat mentioned, we often don't take a lot of time to reflect and really discern, like, what are my core values that are at the center of everything I do, of getting up every day. For me, over time working in politics and now in philanthropy, I've come to learn as a executive support role and an enabler myself that I need those as my core and my root of integrity and service to come back to during challenges and tough times. So for me, purpose is completely tied to values.
Amazing. 35 seconds. And I think, we didn't rehearse this, by the way. I think when you say integrity and service, I would love each and every single one of our government officials and civil servants to be able to say hand on heart, it is integrity and service. But I think that is exactly why we come to service in the first place, right? And inextricably linked. That's the relationship between values and purpose. And we'll hear more about the work that you do about all of this as well. Right in the middle, Binod.
Well, I think I must congratulate the organizers for giving the definition of the purpose through choosing this title for this discussion this afternoon. The new CEO's mandate, purpose, profit, and philanthropy. I think it's so well coined. If you ask me, all these three words put together, if you can draw up a proper balance, they are totally interdependent and interlinked. I think that's the purpose of the new definition of any organization that all of us are aspiring to build.
I think the fact that we really have to separate purpose from vision, from mission, it can all get blurred, right? They're all posters on the wall that we hang. It's part of the code of conduct. It is something that you just have to have. And I think to hear from CEOs, not only do they articulate it, but also that they activate it and make sure that it's lived out, because purpose is just a statement if it isn't lived out. And we would love to hear that operationally, whether it's the farm or the other businesses. So Larry Fink also has joined the bandwagon, if not led it for the institutional investors, and said, let's shift the investment community to long-term thinking. And his concept of purpose is still, you provide the resources, but he says, and I'm going to have to read this, he says that purpose is not a mere tagline or marketing campaign. It is a company's fundamental reason for being. Purpose is your everyday creation of value for stakeholders. And it's controversial because we always just look to shareholders. And when you say a CEO's mandate is to put purpose at the heart, make money out of it, and also to share it when you can, that's a whole lot of new KPIs for a CEO, as if the CEO hasn't had enough KPIs already. So I'm going to turn to the CEOs in this panel. How is it that we activate purpose through the use of your business? Because you're not a charity, David. You are absolutely for profit. But tell us about activating purpose, and then the B Corp as well, because a few hands didn't go up earlier.
Well, once you have decided that purpose drives the organization with more clarity, with more resilience, with more motivation for the team, then I think it's about measuring it. Because let's assume we all have good intentions. It seems that more and more CEOs, they want to have good intentions, they want to do the right thing, that go beyond profit. Also because consumers are changing, the world is changing, so it's about time to transform the course of economy. Then it's about measuring it. So how do you measure it? For us, in terms of activating our purpose-driven business, we choose the framework of B Corps. I see that not many people in this room know about B Corps, so let me just spend a couple of minutes about it. B Corps are, it's a kind of a certification program. You can go online and you can do your B Corp assessment. In a nutshell, they give you points on different pieces of the business, environment, governance, social impact. And if you are below 80, it means that you take more than what you give to society. If you are above 80, you can say that you give more than what you take. So there is already a level, a bar that you need to reach. So it's good because you assess yourself. It's good because you compare yourself, because you are set for improvement. And that is, in companies, it's very important to assess yourself against a benchmark, to see where your weak points are or your strength is. So that is, when you become a B Corp, it's very difficult to become. It took us 2 years to reach that. Then you also have to acknowledge the principle of interdependence. And interdependence means that everything we do has an impact. It's kind of like the law of karma. When you do good things in life, at one point, it comes back. So it's not, yes, to measure, you need to have the calculator, you need to have the metrics, but it's not only about measuring it from a numbers perspective. Also for us as a company, it's not about growing or growing as much as we can, but how we grow is very important. How we grow through in harmony with our principle and our sense of purpose. And then particularly for us, everything we do starts from the environment. In fact, we score quite high on the environmental part of B Corps.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating to hear someone who has set up a business that way, even if B Corp, the certification came much later on. So it means it's truly authentic. And as reading about how do you activate this? So really quickly, you've got a lot of charters. I think in Comfort Zone has a lot of cartas, and you have a ethical chart for everything. How does that get rolled out? Is that just not another policy?
No, at the beginning it was just instinctive, that this is the direction you want to take. And then we went in, that was already 15 years ago, through a chart of ethics. We hired a philosopher, a philosophical counselor that interview us and allow us to understand better what we wanted to do in business, what was our, finality. And so in 2005, we came out with this chart of ethics that set the values of the company. It's a good process. It involved all the team. It was not top-down. It was bottom-up. And from then, we work on it and we built on it until we decided to become B Corp in 2016, and now we're also a benefit corporation. So some people misunderstand between the two. B Corp certification, it's a certification you have to go through a particular journey that involves product, process, supply chain, citizenships, different types of commitments that you have to make as a stakeholder value for a prosperous longevity. And then in 2019, we transform also the business entity in a benefit corporation. On this one, you don't need certification, but benefit corporation, you make a statement that your goal as a company is not to maximize profit for shareholders, but is to optimize profit for stakeholders at large. And that is very important, especially if you are on the stock exchange, because if you don't maximize profit for shareholder and you are a CEO of a company that is publicly traded, you can be sued.
Yeah, this is just playing to your role. But thank you for setting that up, because I want to ask Binod now. This is about certifications and structure and framework. You're very passionate about purpose and wellness. Was that how you started as well? Tell us a bit about your activation.
Yeah, I think it's all about defining the philosophy for yourself, for the people, for your entire stakeholders. What does the brand, your brand, whether it be the brand of a product or a business or which may also extend to businesses which has a much larger and a deeper sense, which is wellness. My newfound love, not so new. I've been involved for the last 10 years in terms of the ownership of the farm, but really as I started to understand the deep meaning it leaves behind to the people who come there. I mean, the more and more engaging opportunities with the people who confess it's a life-changing experience, I think it's much bigger and much more powerful than business. The conventional definition of the way we wish to define a successful organization is changing.
Yes.
I think people have to connect with your brand. People have to associate yourselves with the brand. I mean, I can give you an example. I mean, India is a huge country next door to Nepal. I mean, one brand which completely stands out in India is Tata's. I'm saying this because Raman, my friend, the former global head of the Taj, is sitting here, and we've worked together very closely. Talk of Bill Gates. Melissa is sitting right here, our partners in many of our philanthropic ventures. I think people, the engagement of the leadership, the face of the organization, in reshaping the organization's ethos and what you stand for, and being able to align the entire ecosystem and the people in the process come first.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to give a consistent message. Today's world is highly transparent and open, connected. You cannot be giving different messages. If you mean it, it'll come out.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about defining way and for what purpose you want to be known for. Mm-hmm. For instance, you touched upon the wellness and the farm. I mean, I'm something which I'm very, very passionate about. We've taken it now that it has come under the management of CG Hospitality. We believe we've taken it to the new level. I mean, it's my personal passion. It may be a small business in the context of our group, but to me it means a lot. We are working every day to take it to the new level by adding all those elements which makes a difference. There is no single philosophy or there is no single definition to what wellness is all about.
Yeah.
I think this morning was a remarkable opening.
Yeah.
I think you were able to, I was congratulating the organizers that how succinctly and how well the overall definition of the wellness and how the world is getting more and more involved was presented, including the vision going forward.
Yeah.
Now, if we can capsulize the same and deliver in our own way and take it beyond the frontiers of the Philippines without compromising in the traditionally very well-known ancient healing methods of the Filipinos, which I'm a great believer in, you know. I mean, I think we know that we can make a difference. And if you can create an enterprise or a brand which makes the difference, a deep, long-lasting difference in the lives of the people, rewards and profits will follow.
Yeah. And it's
You can pretty much afford to put, even if you try to put that behind you,
Yeah.
it'll come in the front.
Yes.
I think it's a, as I mentioned right in the opening of my statement, it's a interlinked, very much an interlinked subject.
I'm glad you raised that because as a company that's called The Purpose Business, you can imagine when we started, we were laughed at. We had so many businesses saying, my profit is my purpose, which is such a sad, I'm speaking to the choir here, you know, you understand it, but to everyone else outside, you're there to make money, short-term returns, come back to your shareholders, right? But when you say profit is an enabler, it comes, particularly for the farm, when it opened 10 years ago, it was madness. You know, if you think about it, how would you sell that in a country that, particularly for my home country, it was, you know, hand to mouth mostly. The price point is difficult. The wellness is aspirational. I can't afford it. But look at it, as you say, the dollar value is actually returned to you tenfold because when it comes back not just because of a weekend stay. As you say, it's life-changing and people become loyal, right? And I think it's excellent to hear businesses talk about how the purpose can drive profit, because at the end of the day, you wonder, you know, are you really making money? And that's the kind of question that most people would ask if you say purpose is at the front of profit. But not all of us are in business, and I think I'm going to turn to you, Melissa, because a lot of times we strive to be in good business and we strive to be a responsible business, but not all of us are in the business of doing good. And I think those are two different things, right? We sell products and services, but there are those that work in organizations precisely to invest in the good. And I want to hear about your activation story, Melissa. So share a little bit about how you activate purpose, particularly now that you're in Pivotal.
Well, I'm humbled to join this panel here of accomplished CEOs and companies, and same thing with everyone in the audience. I'm not a CEO myself. I support the CEO of my company and work in administrative support. And so really thinking about purpose and activation of purpose, even for an organization that's working for social progress and social justice, you can sometimes lose your connection to that. You know, your day-to-day work, you're not actively on the front lines, if you will. And so it is really important to come back to your center and your core and why you're doing that. And that's why I talked about how I've had to think about my values and how that relates to the work I'm doing every day, the minutia, the little things, the big things, in support of people doing good work. And so my activation story is really from a workforce perspective in thinking about, you know, regardless of what services you're out there providing, what product you may be selling, completely absent of the business side of it, what keeps you coming back to work, wanting to do good work and sharing your own values. And so I think just reflecting on that everybody comes to the table with something different and finding ways to connect in shared purpose and unifying values is just key to having a successful business, both doing good work or doing work for the greater good. In either case, having connection and unifying values drives you to keep coming back and supporting your companies.
And I suppose just because you work for social progress and development doesn't make purpose easier.
No, certainly not.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit of struggles and challenges and what you learned in social progress?
Sure. I think one big thing for me has been resilience, and I say that because, as many of you know, in your own countries and experiences, maybe in business, progress is sometimes very slow. It's frustrating, it's challenging, and so to really think about what keeps you coming back to that, I've found is having a voice and ensuring that others have a voice to share as well in, again, driving toward those unifying values. And so if you have an employee or you work for a large corporation or you work for a small company, if your voice is part of that company, if you are part of the process of your company's evolution and what your company's moving toward in a new direction or fighting against some difficult change, again, without a unifying value, unifying purpose, you don't have a reason to keep coming back. And so it's really about the act of coming back to your center, finding people who share unifying goals, unifying concerns with you, and also ensuring that they have the opportunity to share their voice because they might have a completely different perspective. And this is a perfect example of just being able to be heard and sharing with executives directly. A lot of companies don't offer that to their employees, and I think that that is, whether it be social justice or any business, it's just so important to come back to that and to unify people in what it is you're doing.
And sometimes we have to deliberately schedule that
Yes.
coming back and that kind of retreat back to the center line because it's so easy to get caught in the day-to-day.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad you raised the common goal. What is this all for? And Jean, I'm going to turn to you now because when we spoke, you said, what's giving for if it's not, the betterment of humanity? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure.
Please?
I think, first of all, philanthropy isn't for everyone. And for folks who have the resources, I think it's the responsibility to do well and to do good. But to do good isn't an island. We cannot tackle some of the social issues we have, whether it's education, global health, poverty alleviation. You need a collaborative approach. And I've heard it from some of the speakers today. It's also easier than done. How do we go about creating a collaborative approach, a collaborative partnership? I think when we look at impactful or outcome-conscious philanthropists, normally they are extremely successful business people. I'm looking at one right now. She has not only been successful leader in her business, but she is impactful in the social work she does. The point is, collaborative models requires looking at the journey, at your results. What do you want to achieve? It also look at the selection of partners. Who should be your partners that you select to join you along the way? Then you have to decide on the KPIs. What is the return? What is the measurement? It's so easier said, we want return, we want evaluation, we want success. We're dealing with people. We are dealing with such social problems that is not only relevant in our region, but is throughout the world. So when we have finally found a successful or a collaborative model to go forward, we also need to launch a model. When we launch it, we can check balances, we can see where we can be better or we can offer more. Then we can launch it and become advocates for change.
I think it's so important. We all say partnerships, we all say collaboration. No one is going to say that that's a bad thing, but in truth, do we really know what that entails? Because collaboration is one of those good things that we all think we can do, but when you have to put your heart on the table, when you've got to be showing your real cards, try and get auditors, try and get internal auditors to put their cards on the table, that's not easy. So when you say it has to be naming partners that drive you to that common goal, but keeping each other in check. That's uncomfortable for most businesses because that's not how we used to do business. It used to be that I'll watch the space of my competitive set and I'll keep my cards close to my chest and then let's see how you fare. Can you imagine open sourcing a lot of these things, being transparent with, philanthropy, for example? And tell us a bit more about impact measurement, because in the philanthropic world, for example, people will fund the same thing, right, Jean? I mean, you can fund maternal health, you can fund mental health, you can fund environmental impacts, but you can't really keep that close to your chest. It should be something that other philanthropists build on.
Well, I think there is the challenge. If we look at some of the good things that we've done throughout the world, whether it's early education, whether it's high school, tertiary education, where's our Rolodex? We don't have a Rolodex and say, let me find in Chicago, in Jakarta, who are doing those great works. But I think I go back to the premise of philanthropists today. You're astute. The 100 biggest economies in the world, 50 of them are corporates. 5 of them kind of run Asia, from the Alibaba to Sony, et cetera, But all these companies have chief executives. There is a role to play. And I've read about Binod's work in Nepal. I'm most impressed how you want to enable technology and 5G communication to everyone, not just to those at the top of the pyramid. So not only is having a vision, but you had a strategy. Philanthropy, charity is like a business. I actually have a real kind of little problem when people say, oh, social innovators, social entrepreneurs. Why should they be labeled as social? Aren't they just entrepreneurs? Yeah. Aren't they just innovators? Aren't they working for everybody? So when you do work like that, when you build a business, you have a strategy. You find the best resources, the best talents. Why shouldn't philanthropy, the work you do for the folks at the bottom of the pyramid, have the same knowledge, have the same expertise that you offer to make it work? I am looking forward to 5G in your country to be extended to India, to Bangladesh, to whoever that needs it. You know, it's a wonderful gift. Technology is definitely here to stay.
It's extremely, extremely important to note that philanthropy is not a charity on its own right, without tracking, without metrics. We run it like a business, especially when you say it is run by the wealthiest business people, the most successful businessmen. So why is it that sometimes we think, oh, it's charity, let me suspend all business acumen and not measure? You know, we measure the millions that are donated, we don't measure the impact of what those millions were able to build. And for those of us who've got foundations, charity arms, there might be a leaf we can take out of Jean's book on this learning, because really being able to talk about the impact, not the output. 1 million will build you X classrooms. I don't care about the number of classrooms. I care about what happens in those classrooms, the literacy rate that changes, the placement in jobs, the rise in economic purchasing power of every single individual who sat in that classroom. And I think we take your point that philanthropy is absolutely good business. Dr. M, I'm going to turn to you now to kind of, we've gone around business to kind of social progress. You are, or at least Smart Health, a Smart Health City has been built on the premise of successful partnerships. And I'd love to hear your experience around how you got that to work.
So let me start by saying that we are all very fortunate that we have this human body. I think wellness is something which I have been wondering to define. What is wellness for a human being? And one thing I came across in my mind is that what is the life of a human being to be lived happily for how many years? And if you see around in the past, my father or my brothers or others, I think people thought that if you want to live a happy life, maybe up to 70, 80 is quite enough, because nobody likes to be entering into old age when he's not happy. So for me, the first thing is that if we are talking of wellness, then we should be talking of life beyond 100, but a happy life beyond 100. Now, what does happiness means? I think that's something which has been talked for many centuries. And so I go with the very old Indian saying. It goes as the pehla sukh is nirogi kaya. The first happiness for every human being is to have a body without illness, free of any disease. And for that to achieve a body free of any disease, you have to live a life of wellness. Because if you don't do that, you are going to end up in some form of disease which will slow you down or will have effect on you, and which may be chronic or which may be short term, but it does bring unhappiness to you. So to live a disease-free life is something which is the greatest challenge for every human being. And for that, everything matters. What goes into the human body, what you eat, what you breathe, what you, in terms of eating is also the food, water and everything. And also, as they say, the eyes, what they see, the light effect also nowadays is having an effect on you. So there are many, many things having an effect on your body. And that's why all of them needs to be managed. Now, it's not easy to manage all this because you are living in some environment which is given to you. So that's why we thought of creating a health city, a wellness city, which is there. And in that, you control all these things. And as they say, inside the, this room, you can control the environment by many technological things, and you spend about 70% of your time inside some environment. So that's easy to control because you can put equipments which can clean the air, you can have water treatments, you can have, you can control the lights, you can control the way the things are constructed. But what about things outside it, where you are spending also 25 to 30% of your time? You can't be always in an environment which is controlled through technology. And that's where the outside environment becomes very important. And that is something which is, we find that there are cities which are highly polluted. They were in the past an industrial town. My father built an industrial town for himself, but he died in it at the age of 74 because he was himself, become victim of his own creation. So what happens is that you have to create an area, at least to start with, which is also clean. Right. And that's why that's very important, which is there. And so happiness is the key. And for happiness, body free of all diseases is the key. The second point on happiness is, as they say, is Duja Sukh Ghar Mein Maya. That means you have enough money to live a life of an independent life, what you want to do. If you are constrained in an atmosphere or because of lack of funds or lack of money, you may be living a healthy life or a happy life, but you may not be able to do things which you would like to do, because for that you have to look for some sort of charity or some other things from the government or something. So if you don't have enough money to live beyond 100, it may also create a problem because the biggest happiness for anybody is to have the freedom to do what he or she likes. The freedom is a very costly thing, to be free of everything. And the money helps you. I'm not defining how much money. The money differs for different people because what freedom they want. But at least you should have a freedom to live a life which you want. And that is very, very important, which is there. So keeping these things in mind, I think wellness is going to be, as I said earlier, is because this is not how we live today. This is not how the society is organized. This is a society is like you retire at certain age, the government takes care of you till certain age, your children takes care of you certain age, your spouses take care of you, but ultimately you have to take care of yourself. And I think we are moving to a society where you have to empower yourself. And you have to make sure that you love yourself. You are not dependent on somebody else for your happiness. And in this society, the whole society is going through a big change. Because if people start living beyond 100, as somebody said, it will also disrupt the way the society is organized today. Because the whole organization of society is different. Somebody asked me that if you live beyond 100, what will happen to these young guys who are going to come? They won't have jobs, they won't have this. I said, look, this is not going to happen. Things will happen. First you take care of yourself, other things will happen. And it's happening. What we heard just now, people are not having more children. People are, the balance takes place. We are not here to worry about how the world will take care of itself. It has taken care of itself thousands of years, it will do that. That's where we say there's an extra force.
Yes.
There's somebody who is looking after all of us, in this, whatever name you give it. But we have somebody to take care. I don't believe this earth is going anywhere. You don't have to go to moon or something.
I think
as long as we have the sun and the moon, we also have the earth. So let's not go with this myth which has been created around us. Trillions of dollars are being spent that we are going to get a colony somewhere else.
I think you're absolutely right, and
So
you
I think
cannot
that's
give
where I
what
am.
you don't have. Dr. M, like spoken with all the wisdom there, you cannot, let's control the things, let's take control of our own selves, and in some of our cities, we don't have a smart health city, unfortunately, but I think back to the CEO mandate, you can create that little corner of smart health and wellness in your own offices, in your own workplaces, because you cannot say that this is the purpose of the company and then your own employees are working like dogs for 20 hours. You know, you can't say that purpose is about empowerment and then all their kind of innovative ideas are clipped because you have one way of thinking about certain things. So you're right. I think it's taking control of what it is that we can and ensuring, back to the CEO mandate, that is spelled out with clarity, as David said earlier on, but also that it's enforced throughout the chain and, you know, all the way down. We've got a few more minutes, and I promise that we could take questions if you have any. This is also a test of whether you're still awake or not. Chuckles there, so you are awake. Any questions from my panelists?
Maybe I just have something
Gee.
to add to
Yeah.
the discussion today. I think when we talk about philanthropy or when we talk about businesses, CEOs' responsibility, someone said to me a long time ago, what we really own is what we can give away. And when you give away with the heart, with compassion, with love, when we do depart, the traces of your love remain. So when I see such CEOs and I see thriving companies, 50 of the world's largest corporations, you have so much power to change the world and create a better future. We have so many think tanks. You have all been to think tanks. How about if we work together and create a do tank that will make a difference to people around the world who haven't had the benefit of your intelligence or the resources that you have. I just want to thank you for that.
That's very well said. And in a way, you guys are all here because you are doers and you've inspired other businesses as well to be doing. I think we need to be talking about what we've done, not what we want to do. All the aspirations are good for strategic plans and documents like that, but I think you're right. You know, let this be the do tank. There are no hands waving at me. Okay, real quick. I'm going to time you as well. Can you do that in 10 seconds?
I'll try. So I have taught yoga for 20 years and driven by purpose. And a lot of the people that I serve are also small business owners and owner-operators, I would even say. So how to empower people who have a lot of purpose to really understand the potential of their impact, which might be profit.
Okay, can we do this fast mode again? How do you enlighten people with purpose about the impact that they could make? David, maybe I'll start with you and let this be the final round.
Well, I think, again, in today's world, it is a good business practice to have a purpose-driven company. Economists said, Nobel Prize of Economy, the result of companies said today's consumers are demanding for that. Since we became a big corp, we never had our numbers so much in the right place. So that's reinforcing also from a business perspective. It makes sense. It's about time.
Okay, so do it through your business processes is what he's saying. Melissa?
I would say honoring each person's individual reason of why they come to do that work. Everybody may have a different reason: family, learning, connection, business, providing sustainability, and so it's really about honoring each individual person and activating them from where they're coming from rather than where you're coming from.
Honor each and every person. Binod?
Well, as I mentioned, that everything that you or your company does gets transmitted in a consistent way through the brand or through the product, through the service that you're out there to deliver. You know, I mean, I also wanted very briefly to add that in today's world, I think the times have gone when you can only look at the rational intelligence.
Yeah.
There is something called emotional intelligence, and the right blend of the rational and emotional intelligence, in some respects, learning and unlearning of the organization brings in the best, which stands out.
Okay, so rational and emotional intelligence, make it come through that. Dr. M?
I think people of same thinking should come together, whether they are resourceful or not resourceful. The main thing is that everybody has a thought process. And I think people who have a similar thought process should gather together. So it's not a question of dividing the society into two parts, resourceful and non-resourceful, but people who have a particular type of thinking, they should come together so the resourceful people will become more resourceful and the less resourceful people will also become resourceful. So I think that's what is required.
Fantastic. Jean?
I think you love what you do. So when you love what you do, you get up and you do a better job. And who you talk to also feels the love that you give. And I think, like I said earlier on, whatever we do at the end of the day is the love that hangs on.
Here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, discover your purpose, activate it, give the love that you do, and we are all part of this do tank. Thank you very much, my panelists.